everyone. Today I am interviewing just a short interview with John Holledauer of the GHK Academy, because a lot of people, obviously, when they hear the stuff that I talk about and what I share, they want to know, okay, where do I learn more? How can I just dive into this world? And thankfully, in the last couple of years, John has spent hours and hours, 2 years straight, basically, from sunup to sundown, translating the work and seminars from Helmut Pilhar. And so Helmut was Dr. Hammer's official lecturer, and he drove all over Europe for I don't even know how many years, giving these lectures, giving these seminars, disseminating Dr. Hammer's direct information. And so this is our closest link, our closest connection to Dr. Hammer are the seminars from Helmut. And so we have John, and John has translated these seminars, and now he hosts webinars and education forum for you to learn this direct material, directly translated from German into English. And John is our translator. He is a wealth of knowledge. He's been in thinking biologically for 27 some years. And so welcome, John. Thank you so much for your translation work that you've done. And yeah, tell people a little bit about yourself and about the webinar program.
Hey, Melissa, always great to see you. Well, I would go even a little bit further, back to 1995. The relation between Helmut and Dr. Hammer became like a father-son relation. And with the case of Olivia, Helmut's daughter. And so he started to give lectures about this, at this time still new medicine, and anything Dr. Hammer developed and found new, he included into his lectures, became seminars at this time, only live webinars, live seminars. He traveled all over the German-speaking countries for 25 years, as you mentioned, and day and night, every weekend, every week out there, just giving live lectures and live seminars. And this is why in the German-speaking countries, there are many, very many people who are aware of Dr. Hammer, about his findings about GHK, Germanische Heilkunde, and on a much better level, actually, than in any other language. Because first, the books of Dr. Hammer are available in German. And second, because of Helmut's seminars and webinars, he travels all over and gives them live. So the knowledge there is much broader. Unfortunately, there was almost none, except in the chart book, no other book translated into other languages. And so the whole of the knowledge, maybe 10% only, managed to get across the border of the language to other languages, so to English and any other language. And it was on the occasion of Dr. Hammer's 80th birthday when he commissioned Helmut to bring all his live seminars into an online learning program, into webinars and video material to teach this knowledge in German still. And once Helmut was ready with this and everything worked, he came up with the idea to bring people which he knew for many years, who studied with him, learned with him, which he knew what they are able to understand about biological thinking, bring them together and translate all his homepage, which is extensive, tons of free content, into several languages. So we did Dutch, French, Russian, and I was commissioned to do the English language. So it cost me 1.5 years at least, day and night, 7 days a week from breakfast to bed, just to translate the homepage, which is extensive. And then I was ready to start to translate the seminar videos. And there's still 61 of this tutorial, and everyone have a video, an ebook, and an audio, and lasts between 1 and 2 hours approximately. So this is tons of information, and you don't get this in a month just to watch all the videos, and it's impossible. You need the time for. And the most important thing in Germanische Heilkunde is we have to change our thinking patterns, because we're trying to think psychologically. But nature doesn't work psychologically, nature works biologically. And it's a process. You need the time to change your thinking into biological thinking. And this is what we need the time for, why it takes 1 year just for the basics. And the basics is, as I say, the foundation, which you need to even have a chance to grasp the origin level then, which is actually the collection of the chart book. And then in the end, the higher mathematics of Germanische Heilkunde is, of course, the constellation and psychosis. So the whole program is for 4 years webinar program. And yeah, we started last year in April with our first class of basics. We are ready now with them. And all those who had a score higher than 60% are ready now to proceed on April 19th, first class of SBS. And we start a new class for basics again. Still, we changed a little bit the concept of the basics other than the previous year, because I did the webinars giving an introduction, a summary, which was for the topic of the month, which was about half an hour. And then we did question and answer. So students was able to ask the questions and I answered them. This was recorded and is still available, of course, via the account on the homepage. And these videos remain on the homepage also for new students who jump in now or even later, that they're still accessible for them and they can shall watch them, of course, and also the question answers. And there was many questions, and at a certain point, actually all the question has been asked. And it would make no sense to delay the videos and start them new again. So that's where I leave them on the homepage. And for the webinars to come, for the basics, actually we plan to have the question from the students, if they have some symptoms on their own body, no matter which one, get an approach as a consultation call. What is the symptom? Okay, so which germ layer is it? Which conflict, which DHS, what is the conflict content which is related from? For how long have you had this? Is it chronic or so? Do like a consultation call with students with symptoms they have either on their own body or with their family members, children. So not personal cases. We have to have ask the question. Yeah? So I have to have the first-hand information. And this is actually a great way to learn, to get more, to grasp the way how to proceed certain symptoms. And yeah, discover the DHS, discover the cause of the symptoms and maybe which track keep it running chronically. And so give the people, the students, a feeling of how such a consultation or therapy might work. Even I'm not a therapist. Okay, my client is not the patient, it's not even the doctor, it's the everyday person who is interested of taking care of their own health and of course of the health of their loved ones, children, and so on.
Absolutely. And that is what I encourage people all the time. You have to learn this. This investment is to change your whole entire life. It is to change your thinking. It's to start to understand something you should have known your whole life. We should have been raised with this knowledge. Everyone should know, where a sneeze comes from, where a sore throat comes from, what a headache is. Everyone should know all of this. And so we have to take the time, take 4 years to dive into learning this. And you have to learn it on your own body. You have to have a symptom and trace it back to the conflict. And so this is just an amazing format for people to dive in, learn directly from Helmut, who learned directly from Dr. Hammer, how this amazing system works. And you have to devote yourself to it. I know Helmut says, make this your hobby. Everyone, right. You should make this your hobby. You should learn a little bit every single day. And this is a wonderful structured way where you can come, and this is how you become your own doctor. This is how you never have to rely on someone else, a therapist, a doctor, someone outside of you to tell you, because you know what's going on with your child, what's going on with your body. And you can only do that through steeping yourself in this knowledge, learning to think in a different way. And so this format is amazing for people. And absolutely, I have learned so much through Helmut seminars. I studied independently on my own for many years, and I understood things to a depth, but this took everything so much deeper, and the stories that he gives and the examples that he gives, and you can just hear, Dr. Hammer through him. And this for me is like absolute must have. So if you're in this world, if you're studying GHK, you have to have these seminars. And diving into the webinar program makes sense too, rather than, because people can purchase individual. So you can purchase an individual seminar, but when you buy the bundle, either the basics bundle or all 60 seminars, kind of the master bundle with all of them, then you get access to the webinar group. So it's only if you purchase one of the two bundles. Is that correct?
Yeah, even the basic, so it's will for 3 years. So you have access to the homepage and to your account for 3 years, and to the webinars, of course. So you can also join the webinars for 3 years in a row, but the basics. But for the entire bundle, you have access for 10 years, and this gives you access for the whole 4 years webinar program. And even you follow then in the SBS or later on even in the psychosis constellations webinars, you still can join into the webinars for the basic webinars, of course. So you are in a learning process where you can go back and forth, and yeah, so this is the only way actually to learn it of the whole thing. This was actually our duty, what I was commissioned with from Helmut, to translate the whole thing, the whole information, but not just purely medical aspect, but also the surrounding, what has happened behind the scenes, how one thing lead to another, that we are where we are now today, why we are not taught this in universities, medical universities, or why that even medical doctors who would like to help the patient with this knowledge are not permitted to do so. Clinics are closed from governments because they're using this knowledge. So people don't understand that, but the whole thing have to be told that it makes sense. Otherwise, people say, well, if this would be right, then why is it not legal? Why my doctor is not allowed to help me with this? So you have to have the whole information and not just portion of a purely medical thing, then it would not make any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and people do. It is extensive. You can't just hear a couple of things about it and think that you understand it. I mean, it is a deep dive into turning over everything, like everything that I thought I knew about health had to change. And so when you see things through the lens of the 5 biological laws, when you start speaking this language, when you start learning how to think biologically, because most of us, I mean, we're just so steeped in society and the way that medicine and conventional thinking has distorted everything. And so it really is, it's kind of starting fresh, and be a beginner and come into this. And especially, and I know that the seminar programs, all of it, none of it, we can't train actual true Hammer therapists. They do not exist, because we would need to be trained in a hospital setting at the patient's bedside with all of the resources of a true university, and we don't have access to that. So what every individual can do is learn for yourself. And obviously there are people who are working with others, they are coaches, they are teachers, they are, doctors, but you need to learn this first for yourself. And then obviously you're going to be able to translate that into, how can I help the people I work with to learn, and so that's how you can use this in your practice, so just distinction that this isn't to make you a therapist, but this is to allow you to deeply understand this so that you can teach it in your own way, in the whatever practice that you apply. And so there's a lot of people that are like, okay, well, I want to use this, I'm already working with people. Now I want to use the biological laws. I want to use this wisdom. You have to have this foundation. And so that's where, I think just jumping into, all 60 seminars, start devoting yourself to learning this, go through the webinar programs, take the quizzes, so that you do feel confident that you have, the closest thing to what, would be teaching from Dr. Hammer.
Mm-hmm. And people can listening or watch the videos even from Dr. Hammer straight away, and read his books and watch the seminars or whatever, and they still have to believe that things are true. But once they understand, they grasp how things are working, then they will confirm minor symptoms on their own body, a pimple, toothache, diarrhea, whatever, and then they can confirm, is this the same way happens to me, the conflict, as it is described in the books or in the seminar, in the video. And then they can confirm, yes, that's exactly how it worked for me in my life, on my body, or for my child. I brought it to kindergarten first day, came home with neurodermatitis. So you can confirm it over and over again. That's why you don't need to believe in laws of nature. You can experience it. You will even experience them if you don't believe, if you deny that, if you don't want to know about it. Still, it works for you, So And that's the way in also the community with the webinars. We have like-minded community. The people all come there to want to learn and understand the GHK, the laws of nature. And not all, but many had within the last year certain symptoms on their own body. Some just slightly, and some well intense and severe and even dangerous, would be considered dangerous symptoms. And we worked through them. And so this was not just for this single individual affected person, but also for the others who was there around and who witnessed this and read it and followed these cases, how this symptomology proceeded and how we found the DHS and how they managed to solve the conflict or even avoid the tracks and how they get rid of the symptom. And this is a learning process, not just for one single individual, but actually for everyone who is witnessing this, what's going on there. And so, yeah, it's amazing. There are many students. Of course, it's not enough just to buy the bundle and say, okay, that's it, I don't need to study. You have to study this yourself. Nobody can do that for yourself, for you. This is something everyone have to do for himself if you want to understand it. And reading it and watching the video alone is not enough. You also have to understand it. And the understanding comes by experiencing how these natural laws work on your own body or at people nearby you. Okay, witnessing this in real life, this brings you knowledge, and then you're beyond any belief. Then it doesn't matter what the expert, doctor, television, whatever might tell you about a new pandemic is coming. Then you know immediately it's fake news. Forget about it. Never mind about it. And for sure, it helps you out of the fear, prevent you getting into panic, and panic is lethal. So you can put people into panic with just one wrong word at the wrong time. And this is maybe lethal for people. And the knowledge about GHK, the laws of nature, is the only thing prevents you falling into panic. No matter what the doctor or expert might tell you, what the television might tell you.
That's absolutely true. Yes, you have to know this, not just intellectually. You have to you have to see it. You have to experience it. You have to say, oh, yes, it works this way. Oh, yeah, because that's the thing is you come across this information, you get the idea, you're like, okay, that sounds interesting. But then when you have a symptom, that's the only way. You see that it follows the law of two phases. Oh, and there's the healing crisis, and you see each thing on your own body. And yes, the group is wonderful because you do have a bunch of like-minded people who are sharing their experiences. Some really cool cases were shared over the last year for the first round of the basics. And so, this is a wonderful, you just want to be involved in a group of people who are actively learning this, sharing their own experiences. You have the opportunity to figure this out on your own body. And so, so tell, when does the new round of the basics webinar begin?
The basics, we start on the April 5th. This is always on the first Friday of the month. And the third Friday of the month, we do the webinar for the SBS, which is Sensible Biological Special Programs, so the origin level. This is the class then, of course, for those who successfully participated at the 1-year basics and have a grade higher than 60% of the points, and then they're qualified to participate in the SBS webinars. Because we don't, first of all, you have to have understood the basics in order to be able to grasp and understand the SBS at all. And secondly, we don't want to be confronted at the SBS webinars with questions supposed to be in the basics. So that's why we make the distinction, and you have to qualify yourself first to join the SBS. It's not enough to buy the bundle. You really have to study this and to proceed.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, so the next step would be to get one of the bundles, either the basics bundle or all 60, just jump into the entire bundle, and then the new webinar program, you'll get put in a Telegram group. And so how often does the webinar? It's twice a month for the question and answer group?
We did the basics because there was only the basic class last year. We did this twice in a month. The second one was not so many participants. The first was well visited. So that's why we have now 2 webinars per month. One is the basic on the first Friday of the month, and the third Friday of the month is the SBS class.
I see. Okay. So so if you're involved in the basics, but you do have access to all of the videos from last year. So you'll have a lot to catch up on, and you'll have one live webinar per month as in addition to the Telegram group, which is active all of the time for questions and community.
And other than the last year, the question is more in the basics is more supposed to be like therapeutic approach. You know, having a symptom, finding out what kind of tissue, which germ layer is affected, is it conflict or even a healing phase symptom or maybe a crisis, and how to approach a certain symptom in order to find to the DHS, find maybe the tracks, and how to deal with it if it's possible to find.
Very good. Awesome. Well, thank you, John, so much. Thank you for all your work in translating this amazing information and for leading this this group of people to the truth, to their biological wisdom, and for doing such a wonderful job at it.
Thank you, Melissa. Thank you very much.